Vitus is the primary rep to the Traffic Commission, with Powers being absent. Now we need an alternate.
I would like to open nominations by nominating Steve Galliard.
Well, discussion on this. Steve, if you did not have a desire, if you do have a desire, that's great. If you do not have a desire, my background is, as you know, is a transportation engineer. So I would be interested in this, but I do not know who has been the traffic committee alternative for the last year or two. And it's possible that Steve has, and if that's true, maybe we should have consistency.
No, Nick Willick was the alternate.
And I would, if someone will not, well, I will nominate you. I nominate Mr. Hyatt as the alternative traffic on the alternative traffic committee.
I'll second that.
Move the nomination be closed.
Roll call.
And the way that we'll show the minutes is that the nomination of Galliard failed for a second. Hyatt was nominated, and then the nominations were closed. Commissioner Galliard?
Aye.
Hyatt?
Aye.
Kramer?
Aye.
Vitus?
Aye.
And Powers is absent, so 4-0. All right, easy.
We have the first public hearing item. Design review permit, tree permit for 615 Auburn Ravine Road, Persimmon Terrace 2 apartments, file number DRP 19-2, TP 21-1.
Commissioners, we'll have Caitlin Roberts go ahead and give this presentation. So take it away, Caitlin.
Okay, thanks, John. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
okay. My name is Caitlin Roberts. I'm a planning consultant and I work for a local firm in town called Dudek, and I'm glad to be here tonight. I have a PowerPoint presentation for this, so I'm going to share my screen. Okay, let's see, there we go. Okay, this is a request for approval of a design review permit and a tree permit for the Persimmon Terrace 2 apartment project located at 615 Auburn Ravine Road. This proposal includes the removal of 20 protected trees on a 2.1 acre site and provides for the construction of a multifamily residential development consisting of 12 apartment units, garage structures and parking areas, some landscaping, and a common area with 2 outdoor pools. This slide shows the location of the project site. Here on this one, you can see it's located east of Grass Valley Highway, west of Auburn Ravine Road, north of Palm Avenue and Wall Street, and then south of Persimmon Terrace. And as you can see here, another apartment complex is located directly north of the site. It's the Persimmon Terrace apartments, and those are owned by the same owner of the current project. This slide shows an aerial overview. As you can see here, there is an existing single-family residence on site, and that will remain on site upon development of the proposed new project. The zoning for this site is medium density multiple family residential, which allows for this type of development. The general plan designation is high density residential. And then surrounding land uses, I kind of already pointed out, there's the residential to the north, and then mostly commercial and neighborhood commercial uses to the other surrounding areas. Okay, so this slide shows the preliminary site plan. And I apologize, it's pretty hard to see because there's a lot on there. And it's broken into two parts. There's the west side site plan and then the east side of the site plan. So I'll kind of discuss both sides, but just know that it's all one project site. On the west side, you'll see that there are three structures proposed. There's these three buildings here, and then this is the existing single family residence to the north. And then this is Wall Street to the south. So building one, which is right here, is proposed to be approximately 1,300 square feet, single family detached garage, or sorry, not single family, single story detached garage. And it will have 4 one-car garages and 1 two-car garage. And then building 2, which is right here, is proposed to be approximately 7,000 square feet. And this one will be a 3-story structure with a lower level garage and then 2 upper levels of apartment units, 2 one-bedroom apartments on each level. And then building 3, which is right here, is proposed to be a 2-story structure with 2 two-bedroom apartment units. And that one's 5,300 square feet. Okay, and then as you can see here, there will be 2 access points, 2 driveways from Wall Street. This one here will provide access to building 1 and will be located between building 1 and 2. And then this driveway is located between buildings 2 and 3 and will extend, the driveway will extend up to the existing single family residence and connect to the driveway there. And this shows the fire truck turnaround area here. There's adequate distance for a fire truck to enter and turn around here if necessary. And then there are 2 trash enclosures, one here and then one here. Oops, wrong way. Okay, and then on the east side of the site, you'll see this is where it would match up to the west side that I was just showing. So the pool will be right over here. There's 2 pools, an upper pool and a lower pool. They're each 15 feet by 30 feet with a 6-foot infinity drop in between. And this is building 4 here. This will be a 2,100 square foot single story garage. And that will have 4 two-car garages. And then building 5 is here. And this is a 2-story structure with 4 two-bedroom apartments. And then this one's around 6,980 square feet. And then access to this portion of the site is provided from Auburn Ravine Road. This driveway also has adequate turning radius for a fire truck if needed. There was a traffic study prepared for the project, and they found that there were some potential for site distance issues at this driveway here. However, they found that removal of the tree here and some of the shrubbery around there would alleviate any site distance issues, so that that won't be a problem. And we've conditioned the project to comply with all traffic study recommendations. So that will be implemented in the future. And then also the traffic study found that there were some site distance issues down here. There's an existing guardrail that's located just east of this first Wall Street entrance here. And the traffic study found that removal of that guardrail, and then also the not having any monument signage or landscaping being in the site triangles would alleviate any site distance issues there as well. So again, those recommendations will be required as a condition of approval for this project. And that's included in the resolution, which is Exhibit A of your staff report. And here's just the building summary, which I've kind of already touched on all of these things. the 5 structures, the size of the structures, the number of residential units associated with each, and then the garage spaces. As you can see, there are 3 residential buildings and then 2 detached garage buildings. In terms of parking, the city requires 2 spaces per residential unit. And so for the 12 units that are a part of this project, there would be a requirement for 24 spaces. This project is proposing to provide 31 spaces. And those are included in the garage spaces and then some uncovered surface parking in the parking lots. And then there's also the handicap spaces. I think there's 3 handicap garage spaces and then 3 outdoor surface parking spaces. Okay, and on this slide, I have the preliminary grading and drainage plan, again, broken into 2 pieces, the west and the east. The project site has a pretty significant change in elevation from the west side of the site down toward Auburn Ravine. Grading will be necessary to set pads for the structures, and initial earthwork volume estimates anticipate approximately 6,000 cubic yards of excavation and 4,400 cubic yards of fill, resulting in approximately 950 cubic yards of fill that will need to be off-hauled from the site. The project will be conditioned to comply with and conform with all city standards and plans. There was a preliminary drainage stormwater quality plan prepared for the project, and that report notes that the drainage flows from west through the site, east towards Auburn Ravine. There's an existing inlet storm drain located in the northeast corner of the site, which you can see here, and then this site provides a better detail. Back here. Drainage, let's see, what was I going to say about that? This existing storm drain pipes run off from approximately half of the site through an existing 10-inch storm drain into Auburn Ravine. And then the remaining half of the site drains down Auburn Ravine Road and flows along the westerly side of Auburn Ravine, and ultimately drains through an existing storm drain into Auburn Ravine as well. This existing 10-inch culvert under Auburn Ravine Road will need to be sized up to an 18-inch storm drain as part of the proposed project. The storm drain will be extended under Auburn Ravine Road, and then flows will be discharged into Auburn Ravine Creek via a rock protected outlet. And then this exhibit here, it's kind of hard to see, but you can see the location of the new pipe. In terms of utilities and services, sewer service will be provided by the city. Gravity sewer laterals will connect to each of the 3 residential buildings to an existing 10-inch line that's currently serving the property. And then water will be made available by the Placer County Water Agency. And there's a proposed looped water line on the site, which will be accomplished by extending an 8-inch water connection from the adjacent parcel to the west, and then extending that east to an existing 8-inch line in Auburn Ravine Road. Pacific Gas and Electric will provide gas and electric service to the site. In terms of building design and materials, this slide shows the proposed exterior paint color, which is here. It's pure white from Sherwin-Williams, and it'll be a stucco exterior on the buildings. And then for the roofing, the applicants are proposing this. It's a slate-colored asphalt shingle roofing. And then other features will be metal railings and decorative lighting fixtures that will have a bronze or antique bronze or black finish. So the next few slides have all of the building elevations and floor plans. I'll just kind of go through them quickly. There's a lot here. Okay, so this is for building 1, and this is just 4 single car detached garage. Oh no, 3 single car and then 2 and then one 2-car garage. So 4 garage spaces in a detached structure. And then this is the floor plan for that building. And then building 2 here, which is this is the 3-story structure that will have the lower level garage and then 2 upper levels with 2 1-bedroom apartments on each level. And this is the rear and left elevation. And then the floor plan for the garage level, the lower level, the middle level, which will be 2 apartment units, and then the upper level, which will be an additional 2 units. And then building 3, this is a 2-story structure with 2 2-bedroom apartments. And then the lower level floor plan for that one, a little bit larger units there. And then the upper level. And here's building 4, which is the other single-story detached garage with 4 garage spaces. And then the floor plan. And then building 5 here, this is another 2-story structure with 4 2-bedroom apartments. And then the floor plan. Okay. And this slide has the landscape plan that was provided, the preliminary plan provided by the applicant. At the time of building permit or improvement plans, they will be required to submit detailed landscape plans that will be required to comply with city standards. And that's been included as a condition of approval as well. As I mentioned before, this project is requesting approval of a tree permit. The applicant did provide this tree removal plan and then an arborist report with a mitigation plan. Both of those are included as exhibits in the staff report. There are 99 trees on site or on and immediately adjacent to the site. And of those on-site trees, approximately 54 are protected trees. The project proposes to remove 35 trees for construction, and of the 35, 20 are considered protected trees. And for the protected trees, the developer will be required to mitigate further removal of those consistent with the requirements of the Auburn Tree Ordinance. Mitigation can come in the form of on-site planting or in the payment of an in lieu fee. And that is also all included as conditions of approval for the project. Wrong way. Staff has reviewed this project for its consistency with the general plan and finds that it is consistent with the following goals and policies. Land use goal 1 is to guide the development in a pattern that will minimize land use conflicts between adjacent land users. Land use policy 1.2 is to have multifamily residential projects designed to minimize impacts on adjacent land uses. And then land use goal 3 is to establish a variety of residential densities, which will provide for different housing types and levels of cost. Okay, staff also reviewed this project for compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act and finds it to be exempt from CEQA per section 15332, which is infill development projects of the CEQA guidelines. And for that exemption, a project is required to be consistent with the applicable general plan designation and all applicable general plan policies, as well as the applicable zoning designation and regulations. The proposed development must occur within the city limits on a project site of no more than 5 acres and be substantially surrounded by urban uses. And the project site has no value as habitat for endangered, rare, or threatened species. Approval of the project would not result in any significant effects relating to traffic, noise, air quality, or water quality. And then finally, the last requirement is that the site can adequately be served by all required utilities and services. Okay, in closing, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt amended Resolution 22-1, which Amy sent out the amended resolution just prior to this meeting. I apologize for the last minute addition. Staff worked with the applicant, and upon review and discussions related to a few of the resolutions, we determined that we wanted to amend. There are 4 conditions that we are amending. And oops, I'm going to stop sharing for a minute so I can look at the number of them. Those conditions were condition number 22, 23, 25, and 27. And there were just some minor language changes and a few things that were clarified in those conditions. And so that amended resolution provides the updated conditions as proposed. With that, I will conclude my presentation, and I'm happy to answer questions. We also have representatives from the applicant team on, the owner, I think the property owner, and the engineer for the project.
Very good.
Thank you.
Commissioner, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I just said thank you.
Thank you. This time, ask any commissioners to ask questions of staff. Are there any?
Yeah.
Steve?
Yeah, I've got 3 questions. I think Caitlin may have just answered my first question. And that is that I noticed that we just got this revised Exhibit A about 15 minutes or so before the Planning Commission meeting. Has staff reviewed that? Have they gone through that Exhibit A? It sounds like you did work with them, but I'm just wanted confirmation from John that staff has looked through this revised Exhibit A.
Yes, earlier today, the Public Works Manager reviewed and agreed to the proposed changes.
Okay. Yeah, in the future, it's always nice if we can get it more than a few minutes beforehand. It makes it good. I mean, I haven't had a chance to go through and find out what the changes were. So anyway, that was my first question. Second question is something that I believe that it was addressed, and Article 23 originally stated that there was a dedication of right-of-way required along Auburn Ravine Road for the construction of curb and gutter and 5-foot sidewalk consistent with the existing curb and gutter sidewalk located just north and south on the project. Is my understanding now that 5-foot with a curb gutter and sidewalk is now going to be included and constructed as part of this project?
Correct. On that condition, we added a sentence just at the end of what you read that states curb gutter and 5-foot sidewalk shall be constructed along the project frontage and connected to the existing sidewalk to the north as part of the site improvement plans.
Okay, so I'm assuming that the improvement plans that you showed us just a few minutes ago are going to be revised to reflect that, because the site plans do not show curb gutter and sidewalk on Auburn Ravine Road, based from what I could tell. Sheet S1.
Yes, at the improvement plans will have to reflect the conditions as approved. So they will be revised.
Okay. Okay, and then
traffic study. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Fred.
I was just going to say the traffic study did recommend that. Yeah, good point, Steve.
Okay, and then my last comment that I had was, I think everybody knows that Auburn Ravine floods. It flooded, 2.5, 3 weeks ago during the late December storms, and periodically water backs up onto Auburn Ravine Road. It's true that this site is only a couple of acres in a large detention basin. I believe it was about 1,000 acres. but when we are allowing for additional water to rapidly flow down paved driveways into Auburn Ravine, I'm wondering if there was consideration of a detention basin so that flows into Auburn Ravine would not be increased. We're taking a 12-inch diameter storm drain pipe under Auburn Ravine, across Auburn Ravine, upsizing that to a 12-inch diameter, and we're upsizing that to an 18-inch diameter. And I'm just wanting to make sure that staff has reviewed that. I don't know all of the legal requirements for increasing flows into a channel such as Auburn Ravine when we know that it already does not have the capacity to hold the storms that would be a typical design storm. It just seems to me that that's something that ought to be looked into more thoroughly.
Yes, the city engineer that's no longer here, he did review this report, and actually the preparer of the report is in attendance here, so I'm sure she can speak to it much better than I can. But what I gathered from reading the drainage report is that an on-site detention basin was determined to be unnecessary due to the negligible amount of, pre versus post storm water runoff conditions. So I'm sure she can provide a better justification. But yes, it has been reviewed by staff. And the report was found to be adequate at the time it was reviewed.
It seems to me that like we ought to make sure that, and like I say, I'm not a hydraulics engineer. I do not know the legal requirements for what you can and cannot do. And when you increase flows into a ravine that already has flooding issues, I would recommend that staff look into that.
Can we confer with the project engineer at this point, or do we have to? I'm sure she could provide.
I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah, I think if the engineer for the applicant wants to respond to that, that would be a good idea.
Okay.
Yes, Bobby Lebec she's
Hi,
on.
Bobby Lebec Engineering. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So because of the big watershed, what happens is the peak would arrive, it would be delayed in coming down through the channel. That could actually make it worse if we were to detain and hold the water on site, then the peak for this little site passing through prior to the peak of the 1,068 acre watershed coming down the pike. If you have concerns about it, certainly there's a condition of approval that's already existing, where that can be, looked at in more detail, but we did calculate it for the 100-year storm. It was only 1 CFS increase because of the size of the site. And then for a 10-year, let me just look at that real quick. It was like 0.6. So, so because of that, it didn't seem necessary to do a detention pond, which would further delay the peak of this site passing through before the massive watershed up the hill further would pass through. So that's the reasoning for that. But again, if there's a flooding issue, we could always, look again, but I honestly don't think detaining would be a good idea in this particular case, but there's probably existing, I don't know what kind of vegetation there is in Auburn Ravine, and has the vegetation overgrown over time. I don't know what kind of drainage studies you have on Auburn Ravine, but that can be looked at in improvement plan stage. Another comment was made about the improvement plans don't show the curb gutter and sidewalk. Like to be clear, these are not improvement plans. These are the preliminary drawings or preliminary site plan, preliminary grading and drainage. These are not improvement plans. So we fully intend to design any required improvements on the improvement plans.
Understood. So it sounds to me like what you're telling me.
Also, Steve, regarding the upsizing of the pipe, that is not because of the increase in the flows. That was because the pipe that's currently there is undersized.
I see.
And then we had proposed a context storm drain manhole. So we're trying to reroute some of the water around to go through that so that all roofs and asphalt paving will go in, be filtered for the purposes of stormwater quality, which actually reduces the flow that actually would go southerly on that side. And then once they're both, and then it goes down a little ways and then crosses another pipe further south into Auburn Ravine. But the two of them, once they're added together, are again within a CFS of pre-development levels.
Thank you for the explanation. It sounds to me like what you're telling me is that the peak flow from the drainage basin is delayed as compared to the runoff from this specific site. And so your opinion is that by putting in a detention basin, it would create more harm than good. Is that correct?
So it happens just to be the location of this site in relationship to the entire tributary area that causes that. And I've done, 35 years of drainage reports. That would be my opinion.
I really appreciate your explanation. Thank you.
Sure.
Do you have any other questions, Steve?
No, that was it. Thanks.
Glenn?
Yeah, thank you. So the parking for building 3 is the first level of building 2?
Am I responding now?
No, I was asking the planner.
Question for Caitlin.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
So the parking for building 3 is the first level of building 2?
No, that doesn't
No?
sound right. No.
Can you put that particular slide back up?
Yeah,
you
I'm
think,
just
Caitlin?
trying to, I gotta get my computer back here. Okay, let me.
Mhm.
I'm trying to get the site plan here. Okay. Okay, share. Okay, so, oops. The parking for building 3, you're saying? Looking for me here. So building 3 is just a 2-story structure with 2-bedroom apartments.
Right, but the parking for building 3 resides in the first level of building 2, right? They
Oh,
park
I see what you're saying. Okay. I thought you were asking if there's parking in building 3. Okay.
No.
I think, well, let's see. Building 3, 1, 2. I guess that's correct. I mean, the applicant maybe can provide, I'm not sure how parking would be assigned on that one. It looks, yeah, as if there's 2 standard spaces in front here. And then, yeah, it looks like this.
Well, it
has
looks
4
like the
spaces,
parking
and then,
for building 2 is on building 1.
Correct. Yeah, there's the
Okay.
standalone garage and then.
So
correct, yeah,
what
those
I'm
just-
kind of getting at, would there be any kind of noise issues from the garage on a different unit, amplifying up to the residents of the building too?
I'm, I don't know if there was a noise study done, but I'm sure the construction methods and other, noise attenuation measures will be implemented to reduce any noise impacts.
Okay, and then,
Residents.
Can I chime in here a little bit? This is Dave Mercer. These buildings are being built out of styrofoam blocks filled with concrete. They are extremely low noise. If you ever been into a building that was built under this construction, you can't hear anything outside.
okay,
Okay.
thank you. And then the other question, following up on the lack of the plan showing improvements. Now, on Wall Street, it looks like the condition 25 has been modified to allow for no improvements on Wall Street if you run into rock outcroppings for 39 feet.
Correct. There's a large boulder towards the end there. And at the time this condition was written, I believe that someone was under the impression that there was an existing sidewalk there that could be connected to, but there is no existing sidewalk. And there is a large rock outcropping on that side there.
Okay, but the remainder of Wall Street will have sidewalk.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Steve Galliard, any questions?
None.
I have a couple. Fencing, Caitlin, what will the exterior fencing be? Perimeter fencing?
There is no fencing proposed at this time. If they do propose fencing, it will be on the landscape plans, which will
Okay.
be approved at the improvement plan building permit
Okay,
stage.
very good. Okay, any other questions? At this point, we want to allow the applicant to come forward.
How do I come forward?
Hello?
You just start talking, Dave.
Okay.
Introduce yourself.
I'm Dave Mercer. We're the owners of the Persimmon apartments that are adjoining this property. Not sure what all else kind of information you want. Our company manages about 10,000 apartment units nationwide. And we acquired the Persimmon Terrace along with this land. I think it's now going on about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
And we've been making a series of improvements on the property ever since.
It's a beautiful project on paper. Any questions of the applicant by any of the commissioners? No?
Can I pipe in a little?
What's that, Bobby?
I'd just like to pipe in another comment was the reason for the change on, say, condition 22 was just that we had stopped our grading at the property line, not knowing we would be required to do curb gutter and sidewalk along Wall Street. So currently there's a guardrail there, which the traffic study states is a sight distance issue. So I just want to make it clear that, knowing that we're going to widen that out and put curb gutter and sidewalk, I feel that we can grade across to the unit right from the road and not possibly have no retaining wall and no guardrail there at all needed. So we just wanted a grading option thrown into that. Oops, did I get muted? Into that condition. And,
Yeah, I noticed that had been changed from just the retaining wall to a retaining wall or grading.
Yeah, because it said to
Mhm.
add a retaining wall and a guardrail, and the guardrail was causing a sight distance problem. So we would hope to solve that in a way with grading preferably. And then just, I think the rest of it's all clear if you have any questions from an engineering standpoint. You know, the property is pretty steep. The prior approved project had 31 units. It has an average slope of like 18%. So we have that down to like 38% of the size with only 12 units proposed, which we think would be much more attractive. And Dave, the property owners have tried to terrace it in where, yes, you have the parking garages for the lower level across the way, and then the residential units above, and then they would have their parking across the way, just to try to reduce the amount of grading on the site and try to terrace it up the hillside. You know, so we think we have a good project here. And with that, I can answer any other questions anybody has.
Any other questions of Dave? Okay.
Just as an aside, these are also being planned to have solar with battery backups in all the units as well.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Nice.
that's great.
Public comment at this time? Do we have anybody who'd like to make a public comment? Okay. Bringing it back to the commission for comments, input, or a motion. Anyone like to make a motion?
Well, I'll make the motion to adopt Planning Commission Resolution 22 dash.
If I could just jump in real quick, the motion would need to be to adopt the amended resolution.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to get
Okay,
there.
apologize.
22 dash, what's the number?
1.
1. Okay, so I'll move to adopt Planning Commission Resolution 22-1 as amended for Persimmon Terrace 2 apartment project, filed DRP 19-2 and TP 21-1 as presented or amended by the Planning Commission.
I'll second that.
Okay. We call roll. Commissioner Galliot?
No, I'm sorry about that. I couldn't find my unmute button. Okay, a motion from Kramer, seconded by Hyatt, adopting resolution 22-01 as amended with the balance of the staff recommendation. Why don't we do a roll call vote on that? Commissioner Galliard?
Aye.
Commissioner Hyatt?
Aye.
Commissioner Kramer?
Aye.
Commissioner Vitus?
Aye.
Okay, passes 4-0.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Beautiful project.
Thank you.
Very
Yes,
nice
it is.
project.
Okay, at this point in time, we would adjourn Planning Commission meeting. Seeing no further business. Reconvene as historic design review. Probably ought to take a 5-minute recess. That's okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Boss.
I will be back in a few. Excuse me.
Okay. Fred, you're on mute.
There we go. Sorry. At this time, I'd like to call to order the January 18th, 2022 meeting of the Historic Design Review Committee. And shall we salute again, or we just go on meeting?
Your call. Do you want me to do roll call?
Yeah, let's just do roll call. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Galliard. Oh, Steve, I have you
You're on mute,
muted. I muted everybody when we went on break. Sorry.
That's okay.
Just
I know you're trying to keep me quiet. Here.
Commissioner Hyatt,
Here.
Commissioner Kramer,
Here.
Commissioner Vitus,
Here.
and Commissioner Eubank. We see you unmuted, Christine. You there?
Now?
Oh, we heard you a little bit. Okay.
Okay, I'm having technical issues tonight. My camera won't come on, so I apologize for that.
Okay, we can hear you pretty good now.
Okay.
Commissioner Costa
Here.
and Commissioner Holmes.
Here.
Thank you.
First item of business will be the 650 High Street Rowdy Randy's canopy rebuild and new illuminated sign, file HDR 20-2. May we have a staff report, please?
I also want to mention really quick, if any of the attendees are here for this item, I don't know that you are, so just raise your hand. I can bring you in to the meeting for this item if you'd like.
Do we have a staff report?
Let's see. Yeah, no, I am showing that Tanya's trying to connect via audio on this. But Tanya Ward will be given the presentation on this.
Hello, my name's Joe. How's everyone doing?
Good.
I'm the permit coordinator for Perry building the canopy, and we did design for the plans.
Yeah, we'll be doing a staff report first, Joseph.
Tanya, are you ready to go?
Need to unmute, Tanya.
Yeah, Tanya, you're muted.
Okay.
You know what? Let me see if Tanya's having some audio. I'll be right back.
Looks like she just unmuted.
Are you there, Tanya? Can't quite hear you.
Looks like John's talking to her.
Are you talking to her or us, John?
Tanya is on her way upstairs, so
Perfect.
she's gonna have my name, but not totally look like me. So,
Hey, whatever works.
yeah.
It'll be so nice when we're back together again.
Yes.
Sure, this is when Bridget's out of commission.
Bridget will be happy. She said nothing ran all that well while she was gone.
All perfect things happen. Go ahead. Do you need to share the screen or anything?
I was going to, I had on a desktop, I was going to share the report, but I can just.
Well, wait, do you want to email it to me? I'll just bring it up on this.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah, my video and my microphone failed.
I'm going to start playing some music for a couple of minutes. Tanya's going to email her presentation up to me, so I have it. So we're going to see how fast Tanya can run downstairs and run back upstairs.
Okay. We have a choice of music, John?
We do. Actually, we can bring up my Pandora. That's got a wide selection on it. I don't know if there's copyright violation.
No,
I would hate to play my Foo Fighters set, and then all of a sudden we get sued for copyright infringement. There are people who do that.
Well, I thought maybe you were just going to sing.
Not me.
I'm sure that's copyrighted, Steve.
Wrong guy.
How about those Niners?
Yes.
I like that Christina's always smiling.
On purpose. Oh, we're waiting. When do we think we get to get back together?
Excellent question.
It goes back to John.
Hold on a second.
Or does Amy know?
Okay, yep.
Two attachments.
Almost everybody. Hold.
I don't know if is the council moving remote, holding their meetings remotely as well? They must be.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Tanya.
There she is. Dawn, you're muted.
Oh, I think he's muted because they're trying to work stuff out. 1 second. We're all getting really good at lip reading, aren't we?
We are.
Oh.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, after a brief sojourn, we now produce Tanya, so go for it.
All right, good evening, everybody.
Hello.
It's so nice to see some familiar faces and some new ones. Very good. Thank you for your patience. I had an undetectable microphone and video camera. So let's get started. I think what I heard was the description of the entitlement that was read out. So let me begin. As mentioned, the applicant is requesting modifications to an existing gas station known as Rowdy Randy's, and it's located on the southwest corner of High Street and Elm Avenue within the C2 commercial zoning district. The site has undergone minor modifications beginning from the 1960s and up to the 1990s. The site's located within the downtown design review district, but is not identified on the historic resource service, the historic resources survey dated in 1986 as a historical resource. The applicant's meaning behind this request is that the canopy has been damaged by vehicles over the years, and the applicant finds it timely to replace the canopy with a taller one. The scope of work will entail the demolition of the existing canopy and construction of a new taller canopy, as I mentioned. It will incorporate Randy Rowdy's color scheme and logo of red, white, and blue. It will replace the existing monument sign with a shorter version and include LED lights. The canopy's footprint that's being replaced is not being increased. It's simply going up by approximately 3 feet in height. The canopy will remain illuminated underneath with downward lights, and the fascia will be refreshed with Rowdy Randy's new color scheme, but it will not be illuminated. So you will only see the downward lit lights from the canopy itself. The applicant, as I mentioned, is going to be replacing that monument sign that's on the corner facing both of the street elevations. The project plans indicate that the cabinet will be replaced with 6-inch tall LED lighting. It will represent cash credit prices for regular plus premium and diesel grade fuel, and it will include the Rowdy Randy's logo on top. And in the plans that I'm going to share, it also provides a day and nighttime view. So you'll see that it becomes kind of a back halo lit kind of bigger board. And so, as I mentioned, the sign that's being replaced is going to be shortened by approximately 4 feet, and that's because under the city's historic district's guidelines, that the freestanding monument signs are limited to a maximum height of 10 feet. The existing sign is non-conforming, but with the request of replacing the structure of the canopy, it implements conformance with non-conforming signs. So the applicant has agreed to reduce the height of the sign keeping in mind what we see in the surrounding areas where new structures are approved. You may recall in the past, we've had some applications where structures were not proposed. That was not a requirement of the entitlement. And in this case, it does apply. So as I mentioned, the items before you, because the Historic Design Review Commission reviews projects that involve construction of new commercial structures and also for illuminated signs. Historically, we know that the Historic Design Review Commission has delegated to staff the review and approval of non-illuminated signs, but staff has routinely brought forward proposed illuminated signs due to the Historic Preservation Design Review Guidelines, where it indicates that no illumination, neon, exposed lighting, etc., anything that's synthetic in nature is not supposed to be permitted unless there's a special circumstance or there's a reason for that to occur. Excuse me, it's staff's opinion that what's being proposed by the applicant to replace the damaged canopy with a taller one, providing a cohesive color palette with the new shorter monument sign will be consistent with the historic surroundings in both materials and colors. It will provide the site with an updated and refreshed look. It will reduce the potential damage by vehicles in the future. It's staff's opinion and also echoed within the resolution before you tonight for consideration that the improvements, materials, and colors are of high quality. They're compatible with the character of the Downtown Design Review District. It enhances the building facade and the site. It's also consistent with the historical preservation architectural design guidelines in providing true colors as they are called out in the guidelines. And staff is recommending approval of this request based upon the analysis found within the report and subject to the conditions of approval found in Exhibit A. So I'm going to see if I can get this plan set so we can kind of take a look at some of the things I mentioned. Okay. So looks like some comments are popping up on the PDF. So we might want to just ignore those yellow pop-ups. But we can focus on the signs. And as I mentioned, on the left, there is the daylight view. On the right lower hand corner, we have the nighttime view where the numbers appear in white, the background fades to a dark color. And you can also see the height reduction, right? So it's more in keeping with the pedestrian and vehicle scale on that corner. It has not been identified as a site obstruction, but it does keep in mind the kind of the scale of the size of the letters and the height that we find around. Staff had the applicant prepare the photometric plan to identify that there was no spillover onto adjacent properties or into the street. That's also identified in our historic design review guidelines. And then here we have the fascia that's being cladded upon the canopy top. It's made of aluminum, a material that will be in the red, white, and blue, and it will be the signage will be digitally printed on top. And I think that pretty much includes. I also wanted, I was able to get some of the earlier comments from the beginning of the agenda in regards to the comments in the, here we go. Regarding the comments of the building's history, staff had inserted the historical background based on city records, more specifically the building records. I wanted to share the information provided. Oh, I don't know if it allows me to rotate this, but city records indicate from the the gas station service record that the structure was effective in the year 1938. It was, looks like there was a Wilford Jansen attached to this service record, and there was a leasing known as Larry Gilbert. It doesn't identify the name of the gas station, but when we flip the page, it does show us the footprint of the structure, which include a lubricating, probably an oil change or service station section, as well as the canopy. So that's just some historical background that staff found as we researched the records and tried to determine past uses and how it's kind of modified and evolved over time. So I just wanted to bring that to the historical design review for comment. But outside of that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have at this point. And we'll continue. Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions? Staff? Tanya?
Stop sharing.
Glenn?
Stop. There it is. There it is.
The letter of intent from Perry Builders indicated the height of the price sign was going to be reduced to 12'11", but it looks like staff has further reduced it to 10 feet.
Yes, I think there was some ongoing communication with the applicant. That letter of intent is a little bit dated. Since then, the applicant has agreed to comply with the city's regulations, more specifically the historic design review regulations. So that's what you have before you tonight.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Costa?
Just to confirm, the underside of the canopy is going from what was 12'6" up to 15 feet. So that's a 2.5 foot increase in clearance, and you mentioned 3 feet. So I just was trying to understand the depth of the canopy is 3 feet. I don't know what the depth of the original canopy is, but overall it's raising 2.5 feet for clearance. Is that correct?
That's staff's estimation. There was it was unclear from the existing canopy height. It was more from site visits and estimating. The fascia that you're referring to, Commissioner Costa, is a 3-foot fascia. The applicant may be able to share what the existing canopy is, but based off of what is proposed, it will be raised to a total of 18 feet, which we know is taller than where it stands today.
Correct. Okay. And just to confirm, the illumination is only at the monument sign. Otherwise, the illumination in the canopy is just downlighting. Nothing in the canopy is illuminated, correct?
That's correct. And the under canopy is illuminated with solar power atop.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Hyatt?
Yeah, just a quick one. So the sign, illumination of the sign is what the basis of my question is. And I know that illuminated signs can be permitted when they're given special approval. I didn't read anything about what the brightness of the sign is, the illuminated sign. I'm assuming that it's consistent with what we have with other illuminated signs, other gas stations in town. Is that true?
That's correct, Commissioner Hyatt. This applicant actually worked on one of the previous projects known as Gulf Oil. And if you've had an opportunity to look at that monument sign, you can get a good sense of what that illumination will look like. It's the same applicant, the same provider for those 6-inch LED lights.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. This time, we'd like to bring the applicant forward. Discussion. Cody?
This is actually Joseph. I work with Cody as well, so I'll be taking questions if you guys have any.
Okay. Questions of the applicant?
If you would like me to kind of address that, right? Just the 12.5 foot canopy that is existing right now. We are proposing to raise it to 15 feet, which is canopy standard across most gas stations. That's the minimum that most gas stations to have in order to avoid any type of trailer hits or larger vehicle hits on them. So we're trying to bring that up to avoid potential vehicles and just surrounding people in the area if that occurs.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you, Joseph. Bring it back to commission for discussion. Motion.
I make a motion that we move to adopt Historic Design Review Commission Resolution number 22 as presented, approving demolition and reconstruction of a new canopy and construction of a new freestanding sign with LED illumination as illustrated.
I'll second that.
I will roll call of that. No other comments? Nothing. Okay, Commissioner Galliard. Hyatt,
Aye.
Kramer,
Aye.
Vitus,
Aye.
Eubank,
Aye.
Costa,
Aye.
and Holmes. Commissioner Holmes, are you on? I can record him as absent for the vote.
Okay. Motion moved and passed. Very good. Let's see.
Thanks,
Item
Tanya.
number-
Bye, Tanya.
Pardon? Oh, thanks, Tanya. Nice to see you again.
Good evening, everybody. Great to see
Thanks.
you all.
Thanks, John, for letting Tanya come forward.
Yeah, I
Yes.
appreciate it. It's nice. A good view up here. Oh, thank you. Thanks for letting me know.
Okay, so we're continuing item number 3, Finley Street demolition till February 1st at least.
Yeah, kind of a little bit of a report on some background on this. Staff is asking that you continue this item to February 1st to take this item. So this item actually, at least for me and also for the staff, has really promulgated the need to take a look at our overall historic design review criteria. 390 Finley is an interesting property, and what's being proposed by the district is a pretty important item. Let me share with you just a little bit. This is, I promise I'm going to blow through this PowerPoint to get us there if I can find it. Come on, where is it? Trying to. Trying to find my presentation on my screen here. Shoot. That's not it. So, I apologize for this. I was best made plans. Let's. Where the heck is it? Okay.
Another 5-minute break, John.
Yeah, no, I apologize. It's like, what the heck?
Okay, we all run through this.
I know, I'm sorry. Jeez, I'm sitting here. Okay, got it.
Okay.
I promise this has been a pretty good effort on our thing. So looking at historic design review regarding 390 Finley, I've actually put together quite a bit of research, and I've approached it from just the idea that if anybody wanted to see the transparency in how we reviewed various things. So it's basically been looking at the data and ordinance evaluation. Here are the fun facts. Comprised within the city, we have a historic resources survey. 684 properties were surveyed, 346 individual properties are identified in the resources list. There are 10 districts. There are 101 contributing properties, 115 that were neither architecturally nor historically significant, and 122 non-contributors. You'll hear that there was a survey done, but the reality is that there's only about 346 of the 684 that were done. So if somebody says, oh, there was a survey done on my property, that doesn't necessarily mean that it made the list. So staff has been looking at the districts, the ordinance, how all this applies to properties, and we're generating an overall checklist. So districts, there are basically 4 categories of districts. There's the Historic Design Review District, which applies to the HDRC. There are 2 very specific districts known as the Downtown Historic District, the Old Town Historic District, and there are actually 10 historic survey sub-districts. This is the area which comprises your authority as the HDRC. Everything in blue and orange represents the HDRC areas. Blue is the HDRC review area for downtown. Orange is the Old Town Design Review District. And then if you look at the slide, it actually has some outlined areas, and those are actually the districts. The orange one down here is the Old Town, the blue outlined one is for downtown. That's actually very meaningful. One of the things we're doing is we are mapping everything. We're importing everything into a GIS system. And the one thing you'll notice, this isn't the greatest map, but you'll notice that there are properties that are not inside any of the HDRC area. These are properties which are either considered contributing but they are within the Historic Resources Survey. All of those buildings are given a National Register status code, numbers 1 through 6. 1 being that it's on the National Historic Register, and all the way down to 6 being that it's ineligible based on the survey that was done. But we've got all the criteria here that we've looked at. We are also going to map that. The end of this report is going to tell you, you're going to get a binder that's going to have all of this information. It's going to be sorted so you know what's what. Now, historic properties in Auburn, straight out of the municipal code and straight out of the Historic Preservation Ordinance, it says that the council may, by resolution, establish the historic properties. The historic buildings and places, and there's actually an official listing that's maintained. And this is that listing. These are actually the historic properties of Auburn. If you look on the far left of this, the tables, there is a resolution, and then it includes all the addresses and the APNs. And we're going to map this and make sure that everybody gets it. So what is a historic building? Well, technically, it's either A, one of those resolutions, or B, they consider as defined, a historic building shall mean any building within the historic design district. Really important, because there are buildings that are both in and outside of these districts. So one of the things we're looking at is what these definitions mean, which buildings are actually meant. So there are historic buildings, but there are also historic resources. And in here, kind of the same thing, reiterating, building structures, signs, features, sites, places, et cetera, that have been adopted by the city council pursuant to the subchapter, which means by resolution and listed on the Register of Historic Places. The Historic Resources Survey, that's the one with all the numbers from 1986. This was, the city actually got a grant from the State Historic Preservation Office and did the survey. I mentioned that there are three types of districts. One is the Historic Design Review District. One is the Downtown Historic District. The other is Old Town. But then there are Historic Resources Survey sub-districts, and there are 10 of those. We are currently in the process of extrapolating all that data, and we're going to map those because that gets to properties of significant, either they're contributing to the historic nature or they don't. You as a commission, there are basically 6 reviews that you do for permitting, construction, alterations, replacement of building materials, painting, sign permits, and the modifications to any existing buildings or places. There are exemptions though within the area. Ordinary maintenance does not require a permit, and single-family residential buildings or structures, unless they're actually declared historic, are also exempted. So we're looking at the applications of those. When we look at the buildings, some of the things we're looking at are just the factors to consider. One is it a historic building? Is it in the historic district? Is it in the HDRC district? Is it in a sub-district? Is it contributing, non-contributing, or is it exempt? All these things we're looking at and we're trying to make sense. Just to summarize, right now we're doing a lot of data collection. We have literally crushed through every single document that we can find on these things to try and do the second thing. We're going to map everything. And at the end of the mapping, we will have the ability to go in, click on a location, bring up an address. We'll eventually get to the point where you'll get the survey forms, all the information regarding that. We're doing all of our ordinance and regulatory assembly. And what I mean by that are all the guidance documents. There are design guidelines, there's guidance. There is a lot of referencing to historic preservation office type of things. And we're going to provide that to all of you. And what we're going to do is we're going to walk you through all this. Ultimately, we want to have a checklist that will be gone through so that you'll be able to rate and determine things that are going. And at the end of it, we're working towards a process that's very well advertised and well established. So I will share with you this whole thing regarding 390 Finley. We are going to bring it back. We are going to bring back recommendation regarding that property. But more importantly, we're going to work to get everybody on the HDRC on the same page. You're going to have the same documents. You're going to have the data regarding all the properties. There's no way you want the binder with all the survey forms in it. That would be a.
I'm nuts enough that I'd want it, but that's me.
Okay, Commissioner Costa, we will get you a digital link into it. That would be one big doorstop. But anyway, we're working on all these things. Finley has been, in some ways trying to figure this thing out because in the end, not to talk about it tonight, but they're asking for the demolition of a property. So figuring those types of things out, the criteria, how we go about doing it, we need to do these things correctly. Auburn's history is super important. And just frankly, kind of tackling this thing, assembling the documents. Use the commission need to have good information in front of you always. And I think we're going to try and do that. So I'll answer any questions that anybody has.
I have one, John. Do we assume that this will be on our first meeting in February?
Correct. 390 Finley is coming back. We're advertising it. And so you get a really great binder leading up to it. But we're going to try and do a very good job of walking everybody through this whole thing.
Can I pile
Get
on,
it.
John?
So, go ahead.
So I wanted to first of all thank John and all the city staff and all the rigor they've put into this. So I appreciate that. Some other things, the 86 survey, it's over 36 years old. So just keep that in mind. A lot of things on that survey are now probably within the window of eligibility. So again, me kind of beating that drum of updating that survey is going to become critical. And I think that is one of the things that will come out of this effort. By the way, this is what I do. I do preservation buildings as my job, right? So I do this all the time. Eligibility, just for everybody else, you have national, state, and local. When something is deemed eligible, that for all intents and purposes sometimes means it is listed. So just when you say it's listed, you can also say if it's deemed eligible, that elevates it almost to the same level. But the other thing I wanted to add, John, to your checklist is CEQA. Yep. Understanding how CEQA comes into that, that's another one of those check boxes, because we as a permitting authority have a responsibility through CEQA for cultural resources. And that's one of the things I think we need to make sure we understand what our responsibility is. So even though it may not be in a district, it may not be listed, I really want to make sure we're doing right by that for legal reasons. So that might be another thing to add to that checklist. Is it in a district? Is it this? Is it that? And where does it stand relative? And what is our responsibility relative to CEQA?
Absolutely. You know, I'm staying in my lane. There are some things that I'm dangerous but not lethal on, and CEQA is one of those. So making sure that we have the right information, the application of CEQA, because a lot of that then kind of goes into the state historic preservation type stuff. And I'm not ready to talk about that, so I'm not going to talk about it tonight.
That's okay.
So if you can just motion to continue this thing, we'll bring it back. We'll bring back information back on February 1st.
Okay, I'll motion to bring Historic Design Review Commission Resolution 21-2, allowing the demolition of 390 Finley, file HDR 21-2 to February 1st.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Commissioner Gallier? Oh,
I deny.
John, are you ready for me to do a roll call on this one?
Sure.
Okay. Commissioner Gallier?
Aye.
Hyatt?
Aye.
Kramer? You're on mute, but I saw you do an aye.
Aye.
Vitus?
Aye.
Eubank?
Aye.
Costa?
Aye.
And Holmes?
No.
Okay. Next item, 299 Commercial Street, status update.
Yeah, commissioners, this item was requested at the last meeting to be brought to the commission by Commissioner Holmes. I've included the staff report. Long and short of it, 299 Commercial Street went through the HDRC. The building was eventually raised by the property owner. There were some conditions that were placed on the building. They actually brought in a proposed replacement building, which has yet to come to fruition. And there are no, the city can't necessarily require somebody to replace a building that they have to tear down. But in this case, the building has been listed, it has been marketed. We've tried to reach the property owner, and I've been completely unsuccessful in it. But just the status of the building is just that it's been raised, and we have not heard anything from the applicant.
It's too bad. It's a nice plan.
Wasn't he in the military? I seem to remember.
Yes.
Yeah,
Iraq, I believe, or Afghanistan.
right.
When they
Yeah,
came back.
why haven't we contacted the building owner?
We have tried, and unfortunately just haven't gotten any reply from them. Both tried the last phone number we had, sent an email, and done our best to try and track them down. We actually there's a sign out there with a listing agent, and have gotten nothing about it.
Yeah, well, I understand. I understand he applied for a building permit that was not on the list of documents that we got.
Okay. If there's any information like that you want to provide, that'd be great. But we don't have anything other than the fact that the building was raised.
Well, I understand the city responded to him with a with a response that said, "Give us more information."
Okay. Commissioner Holmes, if you have any information, bring it on in, and I'd be happy to follow up on anything that you have.
Well, I'm only reporting what I got from the city. So I don't have any documents, but just something that was reported to me by the city that he had applied for further documentation.
Okay. I'll follow up with our staff, but like I said, the last official thing that we have is obviously that the building was raised, and like I said, we've been trying to locate the applicant and the property owner without success.
John, you mentioned that it's marketed. Was there a listing agent's phone number or email address on?
Yeah, we went out and followed up. There's a sign out there right now. It's kind of like one of those build to suit types of things, but the building, the proposed building is pretty close to the way. When this project came to the commission, it had a replacement building that was going to follow right behind it, and the property owner was going to. They had a lot of due diligence. They were going to try and use some. I guess there was some metal hardware that was going to go onto the building, as well as trying to reuse some of the bricks. But
Right.
Other than that, just no action on it whatsoever.
I can tell you from my personal observations, that sign has been there for at least 3.5 years. So it's, the information, John is probably fighting a tough battle trying to find this guy if he's no longer at those numbers.
Listing expired.
Don't we have some kind of an address through tax records where we could send a certified letter?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and by the way, that sign does not say it's for sale.
That's correct. It's kind of like a build to suit lease type of arrangement. I think if they could find a tenant, that they would go ahead and move forward with it.
Okay. So at this point in time, we have no ability to have the applicant come forth. That's correct, John?
Yeah, but you know what, we'll just grab whatever we have out of the tax APN and we'll try and send some type of a letter to them. But from the time that this was requested, just to get it, as we've tried some due diligence to try and figure this out. Let us try and send a letter, snail mail, and see what we get.
Okay, all right. Do we want to have that on a future agenda or just?
We'll follow up.
Okay, all right, very good. Last item, certified local government application.
For the commissioners, this is also received and filed. This was requested by Commissioner Holmes to come on to the agenda. The city's actually taken two actions regarding CLG over the past couple of years. One was the concept of CLG was brought to the city council, and I included the minutes in there. It was actually something that the city considered, and it was not advanced. There was basically a no vote on that. And that the item came up a little over a year ago before the city council, and they made a very direct minute action and direction to the HDRC that at the time they were not interested in this being considered by the commission.
Okay, well, I have a couple of comments about that, if I may.
Go ahead, Commissioner Holmes.
Yes, well, if you look at the, okay, well, I'm getting feedback here, so anyway, the comments that were made were split between those that wanted to have more information and those who just wanted to squelch the whole thing.
Okay. At the time, two council persons recommended a workshop, which would include property owners and get feedback from them, as well as have a dialogue with the commission.
Yes, and my point is that we got a recommendation from the State Office of Historical Preservation that they would be able to talk to the HDRC
Okay.
and they would be willing to talk to this commission but they needed a recommendation from the city of Auburn. And I passed this on to the city manager and the city, well, anyway, and that never happened. So what I'm suggesting is that if we're going to have a meeting of the HDRC on the 1st of February, that the city ask so anyway, I'm asking whether that the city, okay, well, okay, all right, well, the placer, the California State Historic Preservation Office to give a briefing to the city of Auburn on the okay, all right, well, all right, on the requirements for the community. Okay, so, all right, well, anyway, I think it's something that we need to do.
Okay. Do we have any input from any other commissioners on this subject? Councilman Hyatt?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank John for including some of the past records in this agenda item. Obviously, I'm a newer commission member, so I wasn't around in June of 2012 or even in August 2020. And I think it's helpful to have this information. Based upon this information, it seems like it's pretty clear that City Council made the decision not to pursue this. And it makes sense to me. And I just appreciate the fact that this council information was improved. So thank you.
Any other comments?
I concur.
Yeah, I concur. I mean, it clearly says 4-1 vote, and I do appreciate the background because, like Steve, I was not here at this time. And so having this background really does help clarify that the city council does not want to pursue this.
I think there's quite a bit of attention given to it, and I concur with your comments that at this point in time, I don't think there's much interest to go further with it. Any other comments?
Yeah, I concur as well. I think the city council has made it very clear that they're not really interested in this at this point.
All that said,
Oh, sorry. Can I just add one other thing?
Commissioner Casa.
There, as much as we don't want to be a certified local government, we may want to explore, they offer services to help craft preservation ordinances. And given what I've seen on 390 Finley, we may want to make some adjustments. So I don't necessarily, I'm not proposing that we become a certified local government because that's clearly not what we want, but maybe we could get some help in tightening up our preservation ordinance from them, because they do have an entire branch of their of the Office of Historic Preservation that does help local city governments write preservation ordinances. So it is separate and not part of certified local government, just for everybody's
updating and becoming more compliant. Yes,
no, I wouldn't say compliant, but just
No?
protecting ourselves and what we want as a city and what we, yeah, I don't know. We should look at that going forward, but I'm just throwing it out there as an option.
So do you recommend?
John, that might be something for Jonathan Wright to know about, as I know Jonathan is looking into some standards. And I think that might dovetail into what Jennifer is talking about here, where they could assist us in, again, delineating what our preservation rules are. Is that, Jennifer, is that a correct assumption or assessment of what you're talking about?
I think so. I'm trying to walk a careful line around, some other things. So yeah, sorry, Steve, Fred, you were going to try to paraphrase. Maybe that would help me.
Do we have interest? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Do we have any interest in having somebody from the state come to a meeting or have a workshop?
Yes.
No? Okay.
No.
Okay.
It seems to me that council has kind of made the decision on this. And so
Right.
I'm not so sure there's a benefit.
Okay. Very good. Let's move on. Reports? Do we have any city council meetings?
No, just for the commission. One of the things that we're working on internally here, a lot of strategic planning, looking at work programs. I'll bring that to the commission probably. It looks like we're going to have we will have two commission meetings in February. The second meeting, I'll be bringing at least an outline of some of the things that we're going to be working on from a planning standpoint. And as Commissioner Costa brings up the idea of maybe looking to do some updating of some things, I absolutely think that those types of discussions need to happen. This is a really good commission to help us at least set the groundwork for how we look at various things. As we move on getting good data regarding the historic side, but also some of the planning related things. I'll share with you that we have been wrestling. There's a property that needs to replace their roof. And the exact same color of the roof is no longer available. So they actually have to change the color of the roof. And what they want to do is they want to do the same color of the roof next door. And I think looking at maybe some guidance documents to allow for a little bit of streamlining for things, realize that each time an item comes before the HDRC, it requires an advertised public hearing. And if somebody just wants to paint their building, it literally costs the city, the permit is $33, but the cost to the city is probably north of $600 for us to move it forward. And in this case, they just wanted to use the same material, same everything on the roof to fix it. So I think maybe there's some discussion that we can have on overall streamlining within the realm of the commission. We don't want to subvent the authority of the commission, but there are a couple of things that we could probably do to ease the burden on some of the property owners on stuff. So look for that to come, but we will be much more active in 2022. I will tell you that we are going to look for some planning to do. The city's general plan only sunsetted 10 years ago. So looking at the city's general plan will be important. We'll be looking at things like the zoning code. Those things would all dovetail into looking at some of the area that the HDRC is covering. So we're going to put together a pretty aggressive work program on some things, and getting all of your input will be critical. So look for that coming down the pipe over the course of the next couple of months.
Great.
Very good. I'd like to apologize to the commission and to you, John, for not adhering to Robert's Rules of Order very well tonight. Thank you for your help, John.
Sure.
Any other business?
Well, I've got a question with regards to the future planning commission meetings. John, do you have any idea at all as to when we might be able to be back and meeting in person?
You know,
I know it's a little question.
Okay, you know, it's important that we figure out how to get everybody back together. I will share with you that in December, I never would have told you that we were going to close things down, but we had to address things from an employer standpoint. And I will tell you, it was an immense failure because we were trying to keep everybody from getting COVID. And you want to know what? Everybody got COVID.
Yeah.
And, you know, we need to have in-person meetings, and we will start moving to those things. I like probably most of you pray that hopefully this whole spike is the end of this thing. because what have we learned? Yep, it's out there. We also learned that everybody's gonna catch it. We also learned that it's not as lethal. For me, I had to look at things from the standpoint of an employer on things, trying to protect our employees. But I've got 2 counters that are closed right now, so that didn't work. I will tell you that starting in February, we will move to allowing some of the groups to begin meeting back in our meeting rooms. So that will be that'll be number 1, and then trying to figure out one of the things that we want to do with the commissions, and I think by next week we will know. I think many of you know where room 10 is. It's upstairs here. But we've been trying to turn it into the best hybrid meeting room that we could ever have. And we think that our IT folks are going to have it done by next week. If we can do that, it will enable us to have hybrid meetings with social distancing, all those things coming together. So if the best laid plans would have us probably meeting with this commission, probably no later than the 2nd meeting in February.
Very good.
Yeah,
Great.
that, you know, as we get into some of these data sets and some of the GIS stuff, it just doesn't work in the hybrid format. We need to be together. So we're going to work hard at it, and we'll get there.
Thank you.
Great.
So our next meeting is going to be the 1st of February, yeah?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Why don't we adjourn the meeting? Thank you all.
Thank
Well done, Fred.
Yes, Fred, thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
evening.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.